What's up guys, Tara here for Rev3 Games, and the Unfinished Swan is almost out. I've had my eye on this game ever since I played it at PAX this year, and like many of you, I've been wondering how exactly the full game stands up to that original demo we've seen so much of. Let's find out. For a game with such humble roots, the Unfinished Swan has endured an unusually lengthy development cycle. It began as a student project of Giant Sparrow's founder Ian Dallas back in 2008, before eventually landing him a 3-game contract and full support from Sony Santa Monica studio. After nearly 4 years of development and demo after demo showing the same black-on-white paint mechanic, I was curious as to why Sony seemed so reluctant to show off any other footage. Turns out, it's the kind of game you really need to experience for yourself. In the Unfinished Swan, players assume the role of an orphan named Monroe, whose recently deceased mother left him but one possession, an unfinished painting of a swan. One day out of the blue, the swan gets up and travels outside the painting, leading Monroe on a fairy tale adventure through the castle of a king, an absurdly egocentric ruler whose own personal struggles with abandonment are paralleled closely by Monroe's. Despite its surprisingly dark and introspective storyline, the game has a beautifully whimsical art style that at times makes it feel more like a children's book than a video game. It's divided up into 4 chapters of around 30 to 45 minutes each, and each chapter introduces a new environment and a new mechanic and set of puzzles by which to explore that environment. Supplementing its minimalist design is a control scheme consisting of only 2 options, move and throw. While things do eventually become a bit more involved than simply throwing paint at a wall, these are the 2 basic actions you'll need to solve just about every puzzle in the game. They'll also allow you to collect hidden balloons, a certain number of which are tucked away in each level. Collect enough balloons and you'll be able to buy toys in the menu system, ranging from a balloon radar, which shows you how close the nearest balloon is, to a sniper rifle that fires balloons in a perfectly straight line. The toys aren't exactly useful for much beyond helping you find more balloons, but if anything, it encourages exploration. The first chapter of the game leads players through that familiar scene of a completely white background splattered with blotches of black paint, and while you've likely seen it several times before in trailers or demos, it's still equally as thrilling to watch the world materialize around you for the first time with the push of a button. The second chapter expands on this mechanic, instead giving the player water balloons to throw at vines in order to grow and climb up them. While I enjoyed the many scenic views this chapter had to offer, the novelty of throwing water and waiting for vines to grow got old pretty quickly, and after 30 minutes of essentially repeating the same gimmick over and over, it kind of felt like I was beating a dead horse by the end of it. That, paired with a frustrating climbing mechanic, made this the longest and simultaneously the most tedious section of the game. Fortunately, chapters 3 and 4 managed to restore the pace while taking a considerably darker turn. I won't spoil any of it, but I will say there are some truly anxious moments peppered in with some really trippy gameplay sequences. I only wish the developers had chosen to focus more on these chapters and their mechanics rather than the vine growing from chapter 2. It's a shame that the most interesting parts of the game also had to be the shortest. And therein lies my problem with the Unfinished Swan. Its storybook landscape and genuinely unique gameplay all provide the base for a magnificent experience, and yet it never fully realizes its own ideas. Puzzles are introduced once and then abandoned in favor of others, while the less interesting mechanics get repeated into the ground. In that regard, the game feels almost like a metaphor for itself. Beautiful, elegant, and ever so slightly unfinished. Shortcomings aside, I'd recommend this game to just about anyone, particularly those with an affinity for artistic or exploration-based games, or anyone who simply wants to get in touch with their inner child. It may not be the next journey, but it's a worthwhile experience nonetheless, and a fine addition to Sony's growing compendium of independent titles. I say, try it. So those are my thoughts on the Unfinished Swan. That game will be out on PSN October 23rd, and PlayStation Plus members will get it a week early on October 16th. It's going to be priced at $15, and if you've played it already, by all means, let us know what you think in the comments. Just, guys, please, no spoilers, okay? There's nothing worse than a spoiler. If we find one, we will delete your comment and then ban you, and then cover you in black paint. Okay, not really, but it'll suck. So, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.